Let's talk about the deployment types we have when we are deploying models for the Azure OpenAI services. And I want to extend this to any other type of models that we can deploy, not just the OpenAI services. Um, but when you are deploying, you're going to have four possible options. We have global standard, global batch, standard, and provision managed. So for global batch, global standard, and standard, you're paying per token. So it's based on your inputs and your outputs combined, okay? For provisioned manage, you are spinning up compute. So you're paying for the underlying compute. In terms of speed or performance, global batch, it takes hours for it to happen. So it's not something that's going to work instantly for you. The rest have real-time inference, so it's intended for that there. Global batch is offline, so it's not, again, really to be utilized for immediate application workloads. It's where they use the word offline because it makes it sound like it's not connected to the internet, but they mean offline as in like not real time. Global standard is globally available, whereas standard is basically regional deployment. It's a bit strange because I'm pretty sure that if you go to, I gotta look at this. I'm just doing this off screen now, but if I look up like pricing models for the Azure AI services, they'll call it like a regional deployment, right? So this standard here, I could have probably put more text in here, would be for like GPT-4o regional API, and then global standard would be for GPT-4o global deployment, but standard is for regional deployment. Standard actually costs more than global standard. You'd think global standard would cost more because it makes it sound like it's available everywhere, but basically standard costs more and maybe have some hidden costs there because you're getting lower latency because of it performing better in an individual region. Provisioned managed would be obviously the most expensive because you're literally spinning up compute. When launching models, you're going to find that there's just some serious limitations. So even if you want global standard, most of the time it's like, oh, I can only use standard here, or vice versa. I really wanted to use GPT-4o mini, but all I could get was global batch. You know what I mean? If you're using things that are not OpenAI, then if it's like an open source model, then most likely it's going to be provision managed because if you have an open source model like Meta Llama, then they don't have a service for it. It's just they're downloading it and putting it on a machine for you. Or if you're using something like Cohere, Cohere has its own hosted service, so then that's going to be per token, which is standard. So, just remember there's 4 different deployment models and just choose the best you can to save costs based on what you're using, okay?